Good evening, YouTube. Andrew Stellers here. Welcome once again to Dragonic Dojo Gaming. As many of you know, I have been to BCF Deluth this weekend. So here's how my event went overall. I went. Let's see. Our team ultimately went 5-2 and ended up making it 23rd place. We didn't top, but we overall did really good record-wise. My personal record, unfortunately, ended up being 2-5, but my teammate Christian Bozo that played Phantom Blaster Overlord went 4-3 and ended up getting one of his wins against Cardojet. And my really good buddy Sylvie, who like me has a YouTube channel, has gone X2 with Chronojet. So ultimately, between the three of us, Sylvie did the best between the three of us. However, we attended the premium event the next day. I was playing Vanquisher, Christian was playing Gurgit, and Sylvie was playing Tachikaze. I forget exactly what Christian went 1-6. Unfortunate, but it happens. Sylvie, I think... No, Sylvie went 3-4. Went 3-4. However, my record with Premium Vanquisher ended up being 6-1. So Sylvie did the best out of us in Standard. I ended up doing the best out of us in Premium. Oh, and I bet you're thinking, Andrew, how is it you went 2-5 with such a powerful deck? Well, once you see my deck profile, you may get an idea as you could see why. But before I get into the deck profile, just want to give y'all a heads up that this deck unfortunately does not have the newer grade 1 promo. Not Halbei, but the one after that that sends Dragonic Overlord from the drop zone to the soul for the end. The reason I haven't gotten it is because I incorrectly interpreted how the card was going to release. I personally thought it was going to release in set 9 and not be legal and I know that cards from set 9 were illegal for BCF Deluth, but what I didn't realize until I got to the event is that the grade 1 promo came out as a promo instead of a triple R from set 9, and because I was informed about the correct information too late, I didn't have the time to get the cards. Granted, those cards are expensive, $50 a piece, but I would have been willing to get to pre-order those cards before the event if that were to end up being the case. Anyways, onto the deck profile. The control variant of the Overlord ride line. Your grade 1's bar, when he's ridden upon by Nahalem, you counterblast 1 and add a grade 1 from your deck to your hand. Can be Sanctitude, Halbei, or something like that. 1 Nahalem in the ride deck. I have 3 in the main deck as well. When he's ridden upon by Dragonic Overlord, you can Superior Call him to your rear guard, and his other skill is when on rear guard, once per turn you can Soul Blast 1, choose him and your Overlord Vanguard specifically, and they both get plus 5k till the end of the turn. And then you got Dragonic Overlord. So when he attacks, during the turn this battles a rear guard, your opponent cannot guard against this card with units from hand. Meaning unless the opponent has something like Sanctitude or a good enough intercept, Overlord's hit on the rearguard will be guaranteed. And its other ability is once per turn, when this guy hits, you counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, restand him, and he gets -1 drive till the end of the turn. If I had gotten that grade 1 promo, I'd be using a copy of the End in my right deck instead of... I'd be using a copy of the End in the right deck, 3 copies of the End in the main deck, and then 3 or 4 copies of this guy in the main deck so that I can send into the Soul with the grade 1 promo skill. Next up, Dragveta. Self-explanatory why he's in here. 4 draw triggers. Really good for helping consist your hand and getting your resources faster. 7 critical. Now, I would have added the crit with the plus 2k effect, but I just didn't bother adding it because I personally didn't think it needed that card necessarily, but I've ended up realizing from the event that I kind of do, because there's certain cards in the deck that, well, really just Nahalem, that require Soul Blasting. Four heal triggers, 2 copies of the vanilla heals with 1 copy of the other 2 effect heals. This one says, when used to guard against a unit whose critical is 2 or higher from the effect of a non-trigger unit, or whose original critical is 2 or greater, this unit gets plus 15 shield for the rest of the turn. And this card says, when used to guard against an opponent who received an opponent's vanguard who received a power up from an ability, this unit gets plus 15 shield from that battle. Next up, for grade 1s, 4 copies of Mid-Hat. Mid-Hat skill says, when your vanguard restands from an ability, you retire it and draw a card. And here comes 3 copies of the best card in the deck, debatably, Halbei. Now, I would have gotten this at 4 if I was able to afford to when I got the card. But I knew it was best to just get it at, but for my budget, I got it at 3. And then get this. Literally the very same day after I bought this card, the reprinted version of this card got announced as a triple R in that premium set coming out. And when I had looked that up, I was like, damn, I ended up paying $50 a piece for this card. And when it gets reprinted, it's going to end up being, from what I'm guessing, at least $15. But once this card gets reprinted, I'm just gonna get a final copy of the promo so I can have this guy maxed out in this deck. Next up, three copies of Twin Buckler and 1 copy of Sanctitude. Your standard Perfect Guard lineup for every deck you play in Standard and in Premium. 4 copies of Berserk Dragon. So when this card attacks, if your Vanguard's name is Overlord, he gets plus 5,000 power, and if battle, then you counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards, and retire it. Next up, 3 Nahalem. When I get those grade 1 promos, I may consider taking Nahalem out of the main deck. It's only really needed in the ride deck, honestly. 4 copies of Artillery Dragon. When he hits, while on rear guard, you retire it, draw a card, then choose an opponent's rear guard and retire it. Next up for Burning Horn Dragon, the best grade 2 in this deck in my opinion. When your Overlord unit restands, it gets +5 for each restand. And its other skill is when this unit's placed on rearguard, you counterblast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck for an Overlord unit, and add it to your hand. If you revealed it, of course. But if you did not get the Overlord, you countercharge. Finally, for the main deck, 4 copies of the End. He gets +5 if you have Dragonic Overlord in Soul, and his other skill is after this unit attacks, once per turn, you counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, and restand it. And if you have Overlord in your Soul, it keeps its twin drive. And as many of you know, Halbei is there for being the End's discard fodder, and if you have him in your hand, which is far more than likely with running him as a playset. 3 isn't a bad number for this deck, but he's infinite. But he's better at 4. Again, I really wish I had the promo, but due to a misunderstanding on my part, I didn't think about getting the card because of that. So if I was running a playset of that card, the Nahalems would be taken out. One of the Berserk Dragons would be taken out as well. And I'd be taking out the last 3 Berserk Dragons for Dragonic Overlord. That's what I'd be doing if I was running this deck. But I eventually will get myself a playset of that amazing promo card, and once I do, I will make another deck profile for Overlord. And I can promise you guys that you will like that profile a lot more than this one. I'm not really going to bother making a deck profile for the Vanquisher deck that I played, because it's the same Vanquisher deck as the one that I posted a video for a few months ago. If you haven't checked that out yet, please, if you haven't checked out that Stun vs. to 1 Vanquisher deck profile, please do so. I will really appreciate that if you do. So, once again, everybody, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content for this channel. As always, I will continue to do my best to upload videos for this channel and stay as consistent with this channel as I can be. And I once again thank you all for watching my videos, liking, and subscribing to them. Well, liking the videos and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate you all doing that. Well, everyone, I hope you have a good night.